Hi there and welcome. These are your handover videos for your Sprite Major 6 CD. This one is a Continental 590. These are essentially a basic walkthrough on how to set up and operate your van as if you were coming on or off site. So starting off first, you have your black kit shed here with black lever, which you have to have pulled up to be able to wind down your jockey wheel onto the tow bar. Once it is on, essentially that black handle will snap down like so. It will push up this red button and expose a green ring. You then have your breakaway cable just here. Legality states that if you have an eye point, it has to be wrapped around that. If not, put it around the tow bar. You have your handbrake here, which you disengage by just pressing down and engage by just pressing up. They do come up with a fair bit of force, so make sure your face or anything like that isn't in the way. You do have 13-pin electric, so if you do have 7-pin adaptation, make sure to bring yourself an adapter. And then you have the jockey wheel here, which is used to level the caravan and for also when you're using the motor mover. 2 points either side and 2 points at the back, you have inserts for your legs. The caravan itself will come with a leg winder, or you can get yourself a 19mm drill bit and a power drill just to make it that bit quicker. Do not attempt to jack up or level the caravan using your legs. They are simply used for stabilisation. Now here we are using our test equipment, so I have a red propane gas bottle. I'd always recommend propane over butane just because it has a better performance over winter. I then have an in-date gas hose that is connected on to the bottle. Just here, black gas hoses will run for 5 years. So as you can see where we're looking, there we go, 2025. Now that connects onto this regulator just here. Now what you have to do with that is hand tighten it as much as you can and then just nip it up using a spanner. You don't want it ridiculously tight because there is an O-ring inside, and if you put on too much pressure, it can cause it to crack and break. Coming round to the other side, we're not going to be drawing water through today just because of the colder temperatures. Just here we have your flue. Your flue is used to get clean air in and out of your boiler. Don't have to do anything with this except make sure it's nice, clean and tidy. Then here, this is your water pump. So the pump itself connects in by just pressing in, and to remove it, as you saw, press in on the trigger. If you try and remove it without pressing in the trigger, you're just going to wreck it. Then you have this blue cap to go over the top of the acroll to make sure no nastiness gets in. And then at the bottom we have your strainer. It's crucial that the strainer sits at the bottom of the barrel to allow the maximum potential of water to come through. However, as you can see, they do have a bit of a tendency to curl up. My recommendation, rather than straighten it out before every use, you can get yourself some PVC tubing, put it around the bottom just so it's always nice and continually straight. Just here we have your battery locker. This example does already have a leisure battery fitted. However, if you're removing it when it comes to winter time, you'll either need a 12 or 13mm spanner. Also, you have a safety strap just there. Then for mains, you just plug it in nice and easy, just like so. Then you have a little bit of a cutout to be able to shut the locker. You also have your ignition point for your motor mover in there, which the motor mover will be gone over during collection. Then lastly, we have your toilet function. So first up, you have 2 points here, which is where your wastewater is going to come out of. You'll need some 28.5mm waste pipe to then feed into a waste master that you can empty out at your appropriate point on site. Then here we have your cassette. To remove your cassette, press up on the orange handle, pull out towards you. Do always ensure that you have the toilet itself in the correct position inside. Then you can also extend that out and up so it can be used similar to a carry-on suitcase. Now, once you've got to the correct emptying point on site, twist that head to the side, open up this cap. Then what you want to do is at the same time as tilting, continually pressing this vent button. Now what you can do, as a recommendation, is open up this capacity and feed in some fresh water. Now, you can give it a bit of a shake afterwards, and again, a bit of a tilting vent. Then on this cap here, we have measurements of both imperial and metric, and that is for your blue chemical. Blue chemical goes into there, back onto that capacity just there. twist the head back to the side, push it in so that the cassette handle itself sits behind those white teeth. And just up above we have your flush tank. The flush tank itself can hold around 12 litres of water, however I wouldn't recommend putting in any more than 10 as you don't want to overfill it. You can also add a bit of pink chemical which works as a bleach without being corrosive and makes it smell a bit nicer. Now you don't want to travel with either of these two full, so just up here got a little bung to drain off any remaining water inside the system. The caravan itself will be fully drained off before you leave with it. Then underneath your right hand side seat you have all of this here, so I wouldn't recommend storing anything under. Underneath this compartment you do have your boiler, which you can access by just pulling up that bit of wood there if you ever need to do a reset or anything like that. You have your flow jets here, which are essentially what will pull through the water into the system, which is a series of these blue pipes. Now, as you can see there, I have this yellow switch valve. When it's in the vertical position as it is now, that is draining off any remaining water inside the system. You will collect the caravan with the drain valve in that position. November to March, have that up permanently unless you're actively using the caravan, as you don't want to freeze and burst any of the pipes, as it's not even covered by manufacturer warranty as it's classified as user error. However, when you want to use the water itself, switch it over to the horizontal position. It can be horizontal either side. This black box here which says eMove on it is essentially your brain box for your motor mover. Again, if you ever need to do a reset, it's on that panel. This silver box on the side is your battery charger, and then on the top you can see you have heating and hot water illuminated, as well as charger, showing that both the battery charger and the heating and hot water are working. You have a reverse polarity button for if you ever go abroad, and then you have a complete system shutdown button. Press that in, nothing inside the van will work. You have your trips and your fuses up here as well. I would recommend to carry some extra fuses in the van with you at all times, just in case one goes. And if you ever need a bit more information, pull down this panel here and it will tell you a bit more about your trips and fuses. Then just here we have your main control panel. So this is for the operation of near enough everything on the van. So you have your main on and off button, which when I press it in, it tells me that mains are coming into the caravan. If you was plugged into your car, it would show that illuminated there. Now you can view the levels of either the vehicle or the leisure battery by pressing in that button there. As we are currently plugged into mains, that is going to show the amount from the mains lead. When you're not plugged into mains, that will show the charge of the battery. Anywhere between 12 to 13 is a nice stable level. Then you have lights across the van, so pressing this button, lights go off, lights go on, and then you just use your respective switches. I then have my awning light, which I press in. You can see the light on there. Come outside, you can see awning light on just there. Okay, and then I have the pump button. Now I'm not going to press it in today as we're not running the water through, but all I would do is press that in, the green light would come on, and essentially what would happen, you'd have your drain valve in the correct position, the water will be drawn through into the boiler. Now the boiler itself does have a capacity. Now it will fill it up to the capacity itself, and then it will sit there. It is a little bit noisy when it's drawing it through, and then essentially what you do, wait about 2 to 3 minutes, come over to your taps, open them up on both cold and hot, and you let them run for about 30 seconds. It may be a case that if you haven't used it for a bit of time, it's pressurized, so it will come out in a couple of big squirts. Just let it run through essentially for those 30 seconds. And if there is an issue, do double check that the strainer is at the bottom of the barrel. So what I usually do is I would press on that button and then let it run, and then I'd get my heating set up. So this is your Truma blown air heating. Now across the van, you'll have a series of these vents, which is where hot air is going to be pushed out of. This is a dial, but it's also a button, and that is your back button. Pressing on the button and it comes to this screen. So first up, I have the motorhome with the thermometer in, because they also use this panel for motorhomes. It's currently off, but I could set this to a maximum of 30, and that is for the internal temperature of the caravan that you desire. Now, as you can see, a flame comes on just above there. So I have that set there. Then I have water temperature. So I either have off, eco, which will get the water temperature to around about 40 degrees, hot, which will get it to about 60, or boost. Now, boost will prioritize the heating of the water itself over the heating of the actual van for about 15 minutes, and then drop it back down to eco. Then I have energy source. So I'm currently set on gas. I can either use a mixture of gas and 1 kilowatt, mixture of gas and 2 kilowatt, strictly electric with 1 or 2 kilowatts, and you can see that it changes dependent on what it is on the top there. So I'm going to set this to electric too. I then have fan speed, so I either have eco, which is a nice steady boost, or high or boost. So high is a bit more of a vigorous one, and again boost, it is for about 15 minutes, a hard steady one that you'd get from high, and then it drops down to eco. However, let's say I don't want the heating on, so turn that to off, go back over to the fan icon, set it on, either have off or vent. Now what vent does, it pushes around the air across the caravan, so you'd have your windows open and it would allow you to draw through some nice fresh air. Okay, next up, you go down to the bottom. As you can see now, I've not got any heating, so there's nothing above that bar. I have a timer, so I just select what time I'd like to start and then what time I'd like to finish for the heating and hot water to come on. So if you're away from the caravan for a little bit of time, you could just have this set up. Okay, then we have the correct time. So it isn't 9 minutes past midnight. It will automatically go to midnight to reset itself. So you just select the correct hour, then the correct time, whatever it may be. Then the spanner icon is additional settings. So I'm not going to run through these, as we've set this panel to what we believe is the most user-friendly to use. However, if you have a look inside your book pack, it will give you a little bit more information. So, quick run through: heating of the van, heating of the water, energy source, fan speed, timer, time, settings. Now, this panel will naturally turn to green when it's not being interacted with. However, if you want to completely turn it off, press and hold in, and it will come up with off. And now, as you can see, nothing works. Turn it back on, you just do the opposite. Just press and hold in. Then just here, we have your burners. So all of this works off gas. So all you have to do, similar to any sort of gas cooker, press in your dial, twist it to the side, and press your igniter. Now, before you try and use anything else on gas, I'd always run through all of these just to make sure they're nice and lit and working. It may be a case that the flame will light on and then cut out. That is just the gas making its way through its system. So this is what it looks like when they're all lit. As you can see, all burners nice and lit. As it is a bit of a colder day, it does start a little bit slower, but again with the grill, you can see here on the grill. Now with the grill, it may be a case that one side will light up and then the other, that's just normal. And lastly, the oven. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. There you go, all nice and lit there as well. Only other thing to note, you can travel with your gas bottle with the gas hose on, but make sure that the gas bottle itself is turned off. Also, make sure you travel with this glass lid down, but don't put it down until all of these are cold to the touch, but obviously don't go touching a scorching hot burner. Then here we have your toilet operation, which is bog simple. Open up the lid, press in the button, and you can hear that motor. That motor is what would push around any water inside the system. Then to remove your waste, you have a handle, press it away, opens up the catch, pull it back towards you and shuts it up. You have to have the handle pull back towards you even to be able to remove the cassette. And when the cassette is full, there'll be a red light under that icon. And just here we have your domestic fridge operation. So try and position it so that I can see the icon. So turn it on, press and hold in on this button, it will flash up and go to its most recent memory, which in this case was mains on full capacity. You have a couple of different choices for your mode, and to change the mode you press the mode button. So I switched over to auto, and auto chooses mains as the best source to use at the time. Now when I press it in again, it's going to go over to that battery symbol. That battery symbol is representative of 13-pin electric, not your leisure battery. So when I press it in, you can see it begins to flash up and beep. So press it again and go over to gas. Now for gas, as I mentioned, make sure you run through all of this to make sure it's working. You might gradually hear it tick in as well. Now we'll just use mains for now. So then we have the amount of power coming in. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. 5 being the most powerful, so it is going to chill it the quickest. However, even on full capacity, it does take around 4 hours for it to fully chill. Then to turn this off, press and hold in, and it will turn itself off. And then you have some child lock on the top and on the bottom just here, which you just slide across.